Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time it is, wherever you are, whoever you are. Welcome once again to Nerd Week Live, the show in which we, the folks at Nerd Caliber, bring to you nerd news that has happened over the past week, in this case over the past 2 weeks, and in this case, not a lot happened over the past 2 weeks, but we do have some stories for you. And well, also, I will be talking about my suggestions for one thing each in three different categories of things that you might not have seen in 2022 that I really think you should. I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter on Facebook and Instagram as a cosplay photographer. Either my voice just get really weak or I moved my mic away or what's going on here. There we go. And Burley _ adopter on Twitter for as long as that functions. I don't know. I can't leave Twitter as long as Gail Simone's on Twitter. That's just too funny. But before we get into our very first topic, first we're going to get a promo up there for our Twitch channel. On the screen right now is the URL twitch.tv/nerdcaliber. And that's where we'd like you to go if you have a Twitch account and consider following us there. We're looking to grow our viewership on Twitch. We do stream live on Twitch, Facebook Live, and YouTube every single week. Well, when we don't take a break for the holidays like we did last week. So mostly every single week. And so, yeah, if you got an account, check it out, twitch.tv/nerdcaliber. Consider joining us on that platform. And we also already have people in the chat. Kushim, yes, in fact, I am a nerd with 3 exclamation points. 3. It's Nerd Caliber. It's kind of what we do. And Luminous, welcome once again to the show. I will not accept Luminous. Luminous says, hello, everyone. I nominate Rodney for speaker. Well, first off, it'd be the wrong party. So that ain't going to happen. But anyway. Like I said, we've got a fairly small roster of topics here, but I will definitely get into them as deeply as I can. And then at the end of the show, we have those recommendations. So I do suggest that you stick around for those. This is stuff that isn't seen as much as I think it should be, and people really need to see this stuff, in my humble opinion. All right, so the first news is everybody's seen this. That is, of course, Jeremy Renner and Haley Steinfeld from the last December's Hawkeye series on Disney+. And, of course, the news is that Jeremy Renner was injured in a solo vehicle accident while plowing snow. So when I first put this up there, I really, really didn't want this to be a story talking about Jeremy Renner not making it, because he was in critical but stable condition. And the initial statement really didn't make any sense. The statement said that he was basically injured in a weather-related accident while snowplowing. Like, well, if you're snowplowing, it's weather-related. Why would you use that term? But it turns out it really was that. And as of just a few hours ago, we've got enough information to really find out what happened. And it's pretty brutal. Now, Renner has posted on Instagram a photo of himself in his hospital bed after surgery on his chest. And he basically is looking as good as you could expect somebody who had been run over by his own snowcat snowplow vehicle. So what happened is there was a huge snowstorm. He was in his sort of winter ski resort house in Reno, Nevada, in the mountains. And there was a huge snowstorm. The reason he has this particular type of vehicle for plowing the roads around his place and his driveway is the snow in that area can get feet deep, many feet deep, in a single storm. So he was using the vehicle to not plow the road. Well, I guess he was doing that, but he was trying to help a neighbor who was in a stuck vehicle. So in the process of doing that, apparently this is according to the Reno mayor, who said this in a press conference, he apparently got out of his vehicle, it was a snowcat, And I actually went and found a picture from a video that he has actually posted previously because he loves this thing apparently. He got out of the snowcat and went to help or do something with the vehicle that he was trying to pull from the snow, and the snowcat started rolling forward. And I don't know if you can see clearly in that image, but all of the gray corrugated stuff from the cab to the bottom of the image is one of the caterpillar treads that these things run on. They're basically like a tank, like a somewhat smaller tank, but same sort of tread. Apparently, he was run over by the tread of his own snowcat. And he suffered what they described as orthopedic injuries, which jibes with what TMZ said the day of the accident, that his foot was badly injured, or his leg was badly injured, and he apparently suffered what they call blunt chest trauma. I'm guessing it ran over his chest as well. He successfully went through surgery just earlier today to take care of or start the work on, I guess, the chest injuries. And there's no word as of yet about the nature of the, according to what his spokespeople call, orthopedic injury. I'm hoping it's not, something that would require the removal of a foot or a leg. But that's a big, heavy thing to run over you. So, the fact that he's alive is kind of a miracle, particularly if it ran over his chest. Maybe the snowplow hit him in the chest and that knocked him over and his foot got crushed under the tread. That's a possibility too. We'll find out more details later on. Right now, he is okay. He is recovering. He's probably got to go through quite a few more surgeries. And fingers crossed, man. I haven't seen any of his sort of, prison warden series, Mayor of Kingstown, but it's got great reviews, critically acclaimed. And of course, technically, I guess he's handed the mantle over to Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop as Hawkeye. But there's nothing that says he can't come back for smaller roles or guest appearances if in anything that happens further with Kate Bishop. And let's hope that his injuries don't preclude that. So, fingers crossed for a quick recovery, Jeremy Renner. All right. Moving on to, this is a straight up rumor. And the rumor is a website called Avatar News is stating straight out that there will be a new Avatar animated series set roughly 100 years after The Legend of Korra, featuring a new Avatar that is going to be coming out from Paramount and the relatively newly created Avatar Studios. Nothing that I could find, researching this for hours before the show, confirmed this. There were other articles that stated it, all of them referring back to this anime news. Comic Book Report was where I first saw this quite a few days ago. And Comic Book Report stated that this site has gotten some things right. They actually nailed a couple of the cast of the live action series that's in production right now before it was ever announced. But they've also gotten things drastically wrong. They had a storyline, a setting for the movie that's coming up, the animated movie that's coming up, which we know now is about Aang and Sokka and the gang, basically, as young adults. They had it completely wrong. They had a story setting that was just, I can't remember what it was, but it was not even close to that. So that's a 50-50 track record of just the Avatar stuff that I know that they've, got inside sources for. That doesn't, fill me with confidence. So, but a lot of other sites have picked this up as though it's something that, is a done deal, like a lot of people do when a site reports that it has, this is the quote, "We have a huge Avatar News exclusive for you today. It's happening." They don't say inside sources say, they don't say anything. They just say this is this is happening. Don't ever trust sites that say that. If you don't get a confirmation from somebody inside, or it's a site that has a track record like Deadline, Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, of having inside sources, God forbid TMZ with the news about the injury to Jeremy Renner's leg the day it happened. There are people there are sites, there are businesses, there are magazines that have inside sources in the entertainment industry. Avatar News may have that in the Avatar world, but it's a coin flip so far on quality of their inside sources. So yeah, I wouldn't count on this happening. There's so many other things happening in the Avatar world from Avatar Studios and other places. So, however, this led me to find this very interesting, almost intersectional bit of information about the other Avatar franchise. And that is, of course, the James Cameron Avatar movies, and a kind of a connection with Avatar The Last Airbender. Cameron said, in a quote, in a interview with a French site, that Avatar 3, the next movie after The Way of Water, which is in theaters right now and has made $1.4 billion already, will introduce a whole new tribe of Na'vi that will be evil, and instead of being air or water, they will be the ash people based around fire. Come up with a new idea, Jim. Come on. Dances with Wolves meets Avatar The Last Airbender in space. Exciting as hell. I hear the second movie is just as exciting as the first. Probably makes about as much sense as the first, from what I hear. But that's not why you watch a movie like that. And that's not why I liked the original Avatar. Because it was dumb as a rock. But it was beautiful and it was exciting. I hear that Avatar The Way of Water is like that. Although, again, like the original one, way too long. Too indulgent. But this is just... you've got air Na'vi, and now you've got water Na'vi, and in 3 he's going to introduce fire Na'vi. 4 will be the earth Na'vi, as in soil Na'vi or rock Na'vi. I guess they haven't said anything like that. We do know, however, that 5 they're going to wind up on Earth, like Terra. So, yeah. Just a little bit of extra Avatar news for you there that dropped as I was today, in fact, at 3 o'clock this afternoon, as I was doing research for the other Avatar stuff. I'm going to be talking about some really innovative and creative stuff at the end of the show. Stuff like this news about, the evil fire Na'vi is why people say Hollywood is completely bereft of ideas. It's not, and we'll show you that in the end of the show, but, that's why I'm talking about these things at the end of the show, is people need to see more of this stuff to make it more valuable, so more studios make more creative stuff instead of this incredibly well-produced, well-made, but incredibly derivative Avatar, James Cameron Avatar sort of garbage. Not garbage. Again, I like the movies. Not high-quality content. Let's call it that. But getting off that little Avatar soapbox, let's move on to... I can't, I shouldn't indulge in Schadenfreude, but this is a picture taken by Gage Skidmore, so it's on Creative Commons on Wikimedia, of Vic Mignogna. And the news is Vic Mignogna has struck out absolutely completely in his lawsuit against Funimation, the voice actresses Jamie Marchi and Monica Rial, and Rial's fiance Ron Toya, basically about his getting fired because he's been credibly accused of being a sexual harasser. The Texas Supreme Court has said we're not even going to bother listening to your case. So he's done. That, it was filed in Texas, so that's it. It's, he can't appeal this any higher. I guess he could probably consider trying to appeal it to the Supreme Court of the United States, but I don't see how. And I certainly don't see them even entertaining the idea. So, in his original lawsuit, he lost. He took it to the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals said, yeah, nope, you lost. And oh, by the way, the monetary awards that were given to, to cover the legal fees of the people you were trying to sue are way too low. So he then tried to take it to the Supreme Court of Texas, which is apparently the way they describe it, not the Texas Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court of Texas just the other day said, nope, we're not even going to bother. The appeals court's ruling stands. And Vic is going to have to pay monetary damages to cover all of the legal fees of the people he sued. And he lost. So, yeah, it's done, Vic. As this article in Anime News Network points out, over the course of the lawsuit, their words, multiple witnesses and alleged victims of Mignogna's sexual advances or unwanted affection came forward, including voice actress Cara Edwards, underage con attendees, convention staff, and industry professionals. The wave of people who have first-hand accounts of his bad behavior that have come out since the first reports years ago of this, which led to Funimation finally dropping him as a regular paid voice actor for doing voice dubs of their English dubs of anime. He lost his jobs. He lost many of his convention appearances. If he's at a convention that you're going to, you should probably question why you're going to that convention, because the leadership of that convention clearly doesn't care that he is a credibly accused by dozens upon dozens of people, both in the industry and con attendees, of being a sexual harasser. He's done. That's it. Texas has said it's over. So, maybe you can get a job at Burger King. Or something. But anyway, or he'll continue to go to cons where, like he was recently at the con that was also included a number of guests that are essentially on the conspiracy alt-right YouTube nerd fringe. Those are the kind of cons that are going to keep bringing him, and more power to him. No, actually, no power to him. Even those cons should drop him. But anyway, so that's the news on Vic Mignogna. Vic's done. Put a fork in Vic. It's all over. All right, now we're moving on to my 3 recommendations or suggestions, either way you want to put it, of things that if you haven't seen them, you really should. And based on the numbers that are out there for these 3 things, you may not have. Because in their various fields, they are not raking in the kind of viewership numbers or ticket sale numbers, or what have you, that define that particular field. The first one is going to be from anime, and this season was pretty packed, I have to say. So not all of these are going to be, this is clearly the best thing in its field, but it is definitely one of the best, and it's one that I think not enough people are watching or have watched. So in the anime field, obviously, I could recommend, sure, Chainsaw Man. If you're an anime fan, you're already watching, or you've watched the first season of Chainsaw Man. That's just a given. you may not have watched Bocce the Rock. And if you didn't, you're missing out on one of the best shows of the season and one of the best shows of its kind ever made. So, on your screen here is the main character, Goto Hidori. Hidori basically is an introvert with deep social anxiety and essentially is inspired to take up learning how to play the guitar with the idea that maybe it will be the thing that draws people to her and allows her to make friends. This is at the beginning of her middle school year. By the time she hits her first year of high school, it's been 3 years. She's practiced for hours and hours every day. She is an incredible guitar player, has a big following as an anonymous cover guitar YouTube channel, whatever they call YouTube on this thing, as Guitar Hero. It's kind of funny. But none of that, she's even gone to the extent of taking her guitar into school, and she discovered the truth of it is that, she's already considered kind of a loner and a weirdo, and so people don't care. People aren't going to go out of their way to try to find out, gee, why are you carrying a guitar around on your back? And then she runs into, I got to bring this up here because I'm absolutely going to butcher the name, Ichiji Nijika, who is the drummer for a band whose guitarist flaked on them last minute, and she sees Hitori sitting by herself on a lonely swing, and just basically through the force of energy and positiveness convinces Hitori to come in and jam with her band. Well, it turns out it's more of a jam, or more than a jam, at the live venue that they want to play at. And she winds up becoming a regular member of this band, Kesaku Band, which is one of the jokes. Kesaku basically means zip tie. So, and the series name, Bocce the Rock, comes from her nickname, which they kind of in a little sort of mean-spirited way give her, Bocce, which is the Japanese term Hitori Bocce, because her name is Hitori, basically means forever alone. So they're calling her a lone girl. Or lonely girl, or however you want to put it. But basically, Bocce is her nickname. It is one of the funniest animes I've ever seen. Like, laugh out loud guffaws every episode, at least one, often many. But then always just like, chuckles and smiles and so on, without it being a, let's go out of our way and be, positively funny. It uses her social anxiety for humor without being mean about it. We spend an awful lot of time inside Hitori's head, inside Bocce's head, when she sort of just disappears into things that people with social anxiety do all the time, which is her own internal horrible ideas about what's going to happen if she does just this one little sort of putting herself out there thing. And those bits of the show are written brilliantly, they're hilarious, and they are animation, they're fantastic, genius level animation. Because from what I've read or seen on other YouTube channels, particularly there's a channel called The Canepa Effect, which if you're really into the inside workings of the production of a particular show, I recommend it highly. His stuff he's very knowledgeable. His stuff is really accessible as well. Apparently, most of the people involved in this are first time in their leadership roles, and the director, first time director, basically told the various animators of these segments, said, so here's the written out, this is what you do, animate something. And I don't care. Just be creative. And it goes from sort of playing on Hamtaro, on Fist of the North Star, on to actual stop motion puppetry animation, and even rotoscope like live hands. It's wild, hilarious. Every time they come up with a different way to show Bocchi just shutting down over the stress of whatever her particular anxiety is at the moment, it's just a hoot. Because they're so creative with the different ways they do it. I described the nature of the story of this anime to my sister-in-law, who despises anything animated. Hasn't watched a cartoon since she was like 12. Just really doesn't like cartoons. And she said, oh, God, it sounds like I'd love that show. I just wish it wasn't a cartoon. I don't know that I'm ever going to talk her into watching it, but, you know, that's the kind of show that this is. It's hilarious. It's touching. It's absolutely thrilling. You know, there are moments when Bocchi kind of lets her real talent and a trained ability as a guitarist come out. They don't happen often, but when they do, you want to cheer. You want to sit there and, I mean, bang your head and everything. The music animation is fantastic. They actually filmed a band. They then did mocap of the action and then 2D animated over the mocap. So it's not rotoscoping, it's not CG mocap, you know, it's not CG animation over motion capture. They 2D animated, hand drew over the motion capture. And it's incredible. They do some stuff that clearly this was done during the motion capture or during the filming, but that's rendered with hand drawn. There is a point of view shot down the neck of Bocchi's guitar while she's playing it. So you're looking from the top of the keys on the guitar down the neck. And so the entire scene shifts around that point of view because that's locked, like they put a GoPro up there, which is probably what they did in the motion capture. And they do that a couple of times in a couple of different ways, and it's amazing. The animation of this thing, it's not the kind of absolutely gorgeous cinematic animation of Chainsaw Man, but it's not intended to be. It is wildly creative, like Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken. If you've seen that, it's that sort of, okay, now let's just go completely off the rails with trying to show what is going on inside these people's creative minds with animation, but more so. If you like smart, amazingly well written, I mean, these characters for high school girls, there's some pretty complex characters in here. The bassist is one of those people that you can see why you'd be a friend, but you can also see why she doesn't have a lot of them. And just really well written. So yeah, I highly recommend Bocchi the Rock. It's on Crunchyroll. It was a fall season, so it's wrapped up already. You could binge the whole thing. And it'll be one of the best experiences you've had watching anime in a long time. I absolutely guarantee it. Yeah, so that's my anime recommendation. My film recommendation is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Everyone everywhere should watch this movie. It is the wildest, most inventive, absurdist, sci-fi, action, martial arts, dramedy I've ever seen. The Daniels, I'm going to go back and look these up here. Dan Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, who direct and write under, are filmmakers under the term The Daniels, have created just this unbelievably inventive world, which starts off completely 100% normal. Michelle Yeoh is fantastic, and the story itself is actually a deeply emotional, personal story about a woman, Michelle Yeoh's character Evelyn, and her relationship with her daughter, with her husband, and with her immigrant father, inside a movie that has Jamie Lee Curtis as an IRS auditor kung fu fighting Michelle Yeoh. if you need any other justification for watching that, Camilla, welcome to the show. If you need any other justification for watching Everything Everywhere All at Once, I don't know why you would. But I can tell you this. Ke Huy Quan comes back from essentially retirement after Encino Man. And in case you don't know, Data from the Goonies, Short Round from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Encino Man was his last role. He did a couple of things in small indie things, not in the United States, in the last few years. So apparently he started to get back in it. But essentially he's been out of acting for 30 years. And he comes back and puts in a performance that should get him an Oscar nomination. How anybody gets to be that good an actor when they haven't done the damn thing for 30 years, I have no idea. But if, traveling through multiverse personalities by doing things like giving yourself paper cuts in between your fingers and saying a particular phrase and even weirder stuff like that doesn't actually, and the idea, again, of Michelle Yeoh and Jamie Lee Curtis, Kung Fu Fighting, doesn't sell you on it. Watch it for Ke Huy Quan's performance. It is just astonishing. I mean, everybody in this is wonderful. They're all fantastic. It is not a family movie. There are some of the comedy is really adult, and it's like disturbingly hilariously adult. But it's insane. It's insane in every possible good definition of that term. You should watch this, whether you're a science fiction fan or not. If you're not, just go, okay, there's some weird trappings going on around this really deeply moving story of love and trust, and it's a wonderfully affecting, emotional story about a family. And, people jump around through multiple versions of themselves in different universes, and, there's Kung Fu. Anyway, you should watch it. You really should. If you haven't, it's available on various streaming things already. Just go watch it. It's hands down one of the best movies of the year. Again, may not be the best movie, but it's the one that really deserves to be watched more. If for no other reason than, as I said, this will send the message that more innovative and creative stuff like this needs to happen in Hollywood with Hollywood budgets. And, sure, you're going to make a ton of money with Avatar 4 billion and 7, The Legend of Kornavi, or whatever the hell they're going to make. But I'd much rather watch this. And hopefully you would too. All right, streaming or TV series. This one was, there's no question. No, this is the best thing, literally the best thing that was in streaming in 2022. Bar none, hands down, period. The best thing that's ever happened in Star Wars intellectual property, period. I stand on that hill. I'll die on that hill. Andor is something that everybody should watch if they're a science fiction fan, whether they're a Star Wars fan or not. If you are a Star Wars fan, you will get all kinds of wonderful Easter eggs that are worked in practically in ways that make sense and are important to the story. If you're not a Star Wars fan, you don't need to be. This is the story of a young man, a self-centered, low-rent criminal, basically, who has a deep-seated hatred of the Empire that has done his life wrong multiple times, and how he transitions from that person to the deeply dedicated rebel who's willing to basically ruin his own sense of self to be a spy and an assassin for the rebellion, like we saw his character become or was in Rogue One, which is where the character was introduced. If you think there's nothing that you can find out that's going to be interesting about Cassian Andor because you thought his character in Rogue One was just kind of boring, don't you won't think that. He is amazing. Diego Luna is amazing as Andor. The character is a wonderful growth arc of a character, and he's not the best character in his own series. Stellan Skarsgård is, Stellan Skarsgård, if he doesn't win an Emmy, there isn't a God. Of course, I don't think there is one anyway, but, there isn't justice. Let's put it that way. Everybody in this thing is fantastic. The actress, I can't remember her name. The actress who plays the Imperial Security Bureau officer, Deidre Merrow, is wonderful. You cannot turn away from her story, even though she is unfailingly evil and practically evil. It is her decision to be a member of, and she enjoys it, but not in a, mustache twirling, I like torturing people kind of. She just enjoys being on what she sees the powerful side. And by the way, the actress, I should have looked this up before, is the voice actress of Yennefer in The Witcher 3. Probably all the Witcher games, but everybody in this is fantastic. Tony Gilroy wrote most of it. He's the showrunner. He directed some of it. He, of course, wrote Rogue One and came in to fix the direction unofficially, but it's pretty much known that he did that in Rogue One when there were serious problems. He's amazing. He wrote most of the Jason Bourne movies with Matt Damon, so his way of moving story along by having important things happen. If exposition happens, it happens with middle-level functionaries whose stories or characters come across as real characters and who continue to be part of the story. They're just, amazing. It's like the operatives or, the field managers in Treadstone or Blackfriar in the Jason Bourne movies. They all sound real. Imagine Star Wars dialogue sounding like it came out of somebody in the Boston PD. Not the accent, but, it's perfect. So, and Gilroy, and he's going to do this with season 2, and it will only be 2 seasons because season 2 ends basically at the beginning of Rogue One. He took lessons from anime. This is a 12-episode series that has 4 3-episode arcs. And so you get, and there's story continuity that runs through all of them, of course, but the main plot and story of each arc is self-contained. This is a stage that gets Andor from, really self-centered criminal to somebody who's considering that there's more to the universe. And he goes a little further. This is where he realizes that, the Empire is really even more horrible and evil than he thought. And here's the big, conclusion that puts him really on the path to the rebellion. Each of those is just a perfect 3-episode arc. The arc in a prison with Andy Serkis is, again, Andy Serkis needs an Emmy. It's so good. And I really cannot emphasize this enough. It is the best thing that's ever been done in Star Wars. Aside from, and this is age and what do they call initial experience bias, your first kiss. Star Wars, or what they call now A New Hope, episode 4. Probably still, the dominant best thing. Empire Strikes Back is clearly the best movie of all of them. And I include that Last Jedi, and I'm a big Rian Johnson fan, and I like Last Jedi. Harry Brady, welcome to the show. We're just about to wrap up. But included in all of that, this is the best thing ever done in Star Wars. Ever. If you're a Star Wars fan and you're not watching this, you are missing out on the best written, best directed, most impactful, best acted Star Wars property that's ever been put onto any sort of entertainment screen you can watch. And again, I'll die on that hill. That's, there is no way that I'm wrong on that statement. So watch Andor. Please, if you're a science fiction fan and you don't care about Star Wars, watch Andor, because you don't need to be a Star Wars fan. If you are a Star Wars fan and you didn't want to see it because you didn't think Cassian Andor was that interesting a character in Rogue One, watch it, because everybody else in it is absolutely fantastic, and Cassian Andor's story of how he got to be that spy and assassin is really compelling. Anyway, that's it, folks. That's the show. Those are my recommendations. Hopefully 2023 will bring us just as much, if not more, higher quality stuff, fewer Morbiuses. And we'll see you at an upcoming show. We'll see you at a con. Our next con is 2 weekends away. Aresia in Boston, the Western Waterfront. We'll be there. I'm not really sure how big the team is right now. A lot of things are happening in people's lives, so it's kind of up in flux. I'll be there taking pictures, and I'll be wearing a mask. I don't know if they're requiring it. They are requiring vaccination proof, including the latest bivalent booster, which I had to run out and get before the turn of the year, because that would have been 2 weeks, and it's going to be 2 weeks. But I'll still be wearing a mask because people are still getting COVID and RSV and flus and colds. So please, if you go out, folks, wear a mask. If you're going out into a crowd, wear a mask. Nobody needs COVID. And if you get it, and like, knock wood, my brother and sister-in-law who both had it recently, and it doesn't seem to have any long-term effects, and it wasn't terrible, great. But if you're the one that has long COVID, it's going to make your life suck. So anyway, we keep doing that at the end of each show, but I'll keep saying it until something is done that makes it no longer necessary. See you in an upcoming show. Please stay safe out there. Up here in the Northeast and along the East Coast, enjoy the warmer weather that we've been having the last few days, and it will be with us for another couple of days. I am absolutely enjoying it. And stay safe. Good night.